The House Armed Services Committee will hold a special prime-time hearing later tonight on plans to bolster the U.S. military. Headlining that testimony, Defense Secretary James Mattis, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford. The chairman of that committee is Mac Thornberry out of Texas. And, sir, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. This is important stuff, given the action of ISIS all over the world, and also given the loss on behalf of the U.S. Army over the weekend. What can you add on what happened there in eastern Afghanistan, where 3 soldiers lost their lives?
Well, needless to say, this is a tragic loss of some outstanding soldiers, and we all grieve with their families. There will be a full investigation to determine exactly what happened and why. As you know, there are press reports saying that maybe one of the Afghans turned against the Americans. This was a tactic that we saw a lot of a few years ago. We, with the Afghans, tightened down screening, and these number of incidents have really declined, but there may be something to be learned here, and so we ought to study it. I think your point is the key one. As we tighten down on ISIS in Iraq and Syria, they are moving out to other places, and they are also trying to carry out more attacks to show that they are not finished. So you see what happened in Britain, you see incidents like this. I'm afraid we're going to see more terrorist incidents in the future, which is why it's so important that our people are over there fighting them there rather than have them bring those attacks here at home.
There. This is eastern Afghanistan, mountainous area along the border with Pakistan. Rob O'Neill, Navy SEAL, was talking about that. Just listen to the end of his comment here, and for this very specific point he makes.
They've been fighting there since before our country was even a thought. Yeah. And they're going to continue to fight there. I mean, maybe can we get a stable government in the cities, possibly up in Kabul, maybe in Kandahar, maybe. That's the Taliban stronghold. But in the valleys and stuff, we're not going to, it's a different world over there.
A different world over there. He's suggesting that you can't ever bring peace to that part of Afghanistan.
Well, I'm not sure we have to bring peace. What we do have to do, though, is prevent it from being used as a terrorist base against us. Remember, there was a reason Osama bin Laden set up shop there. It's the same reason ISIS is moved there. And so our challenge is to fight ISIS, to help the Afghans do a better job of fighting ISIS.
Understood.
We don't have to make it all perfect, but we've got to make it better.
Yeah, the reason you came on today was talk about your hearing. You've got 2 great guests, you know, Dunford and James Mattis. What do you want to know from both of those men?
I want to know how well the administration's budget request meets the security needs of the country. And so you look at 2 things. One, we were just talking about. What are the threats that we're facing? And secondly, what's the state of our military? I think President Trump during the campaign promised exactly the right thing, to rebuild our military, to make sure the men and women who fight have exactly what they need. I'm concerned, however, that the first budget that his folks have sent over do not keep that promise. They do not fulfill the specific objectives he has said he wants to do.
Well, that must be disappointing to you. You're suggesting the budget sent to you on the Hill does not match the words of the campaign?
Yeah. No, that's true. Now remember, until just a few weeks ago, there was only one Trump-appointed, Trump-confirmed person in the Department of Defense, and that was the Secretary. So all of this has been slow in getting people in place, but essentially what we've got is the Obama budget plus about 3%. And so we're going to go through some specifics, I think, in the hearing tonight about what the President talked about whether this budget fulfills that pledge or not.
All right, last point. Wall Street Journal, I encourage viewers to check it out. This is the opinion piece you wrote over the weekend. You state that only 3 of the Army's 58 brigade combat teams are ready to fight later tonight. In other words, the Air Force is 1,500 pilots, 3,000 mechanics. The fleet is older and smaller than ever. And pilots today get fewer training hours in the cockpit than during the dire days of the 1970s. You look at that, sir, and you think, wow, what's going on? Is it that bad?
It is that bad, and actually in classified session it's somewhat worse. And the truth is, both parties and both executive and legislative branch bear responsibility for this. My key point is this is the time to turn it around. 2018, the budget we're working on now, this is the time to fix our planes, our ships, to take care of our people, and to turn this around. If we don't do it now, it's going to be hard to see when it does happen.
We just had 2 sentences there back on screen. This cannibalization has diminished American readiness. The military is not prepared to carry out all the missions it may be asked to do in time of war. And that, sir, is where you begin later tonight. Thank you for your time today. Mac Thornberry there from the Hill. Thank you, sir.